Welcome back to 44 and 1, Tempest and GVizzle. Today we are going off script, no cards, and we are going to talk about, drumroll please, which would be more survivable, an alien invasion or a zombie apocalypse?
Yeah, I think the first thing I can think of is it depends what type of alien invasion and what type of zombie apocalypse. There's different types in there.
George Romero, slow-moving zombies, not that 28 days later shit.
Yeah, you're dead.
And an invasion, alien invasion. When is an invasion a positive thing? British invasion.
Hey, you leave us out of this.
But that was probably debatable with the crazy kids, their long hair and their rock music. But it's an invasion. They're coming. In my head, I don't think. I asked you the question. Now I'm going on a tangent. I don't think aliens would come here to provide us with aid. I think they would come to take over. Like, you guys are fucking up the planet. You're killing each other. You've been around for a bajillion years and you're still acting like petulant toddlers. We're going to wipe you off the planet and take it before you actually destroy it completely.
It depends on...
We need the water.
It depends on the alien invasion, really, because I mean, I think from all the variety of alien invasions, I think a zombie apocalypse would be easier. A George Romero zombie, right? So Fade to Black, we're done.
Do you think aliens would come to be helpful, or do you think they would come to just wipe us out?
This is where I was going to go next, actually. It's because it depends on the type of aliens that we're talking about, because there's so many different types. I mean, if you're familiar with Warhammer 40,000, all aliens in that, even the humans, are fucking awful. They're all fascists. They're all just genocidal maniacs that want to kill everything. So you'd be fucked, basically. And if the aliens came to your planet, you'd be turned either into food or servitude, or just annihilated, depending on the alien.
That's what I think would happen.
Yeah, one of the above. But they could be really enlightened, because if they've got enough technology for space travel, right? Playing devil's advocate here. They got like, and you know, if they're far enough advanced that they've cracked physics to that degree that they can travel between solar systems, that might say something about their philosophical development as well. And even though arguably our philosophical development is probably about 1,000 years behind what it should be based on our technological advantages now, still, I think that they might perceive resource gathering and things in a different way. And, you know, there is a chance, at least, I think, just as equal a chance that there'll be benevolent dictators.
I don't know. I think if you had, I don't know that we would be ready for that. I don't know that we are in a place. I don't know that we as humanity, like if like you are aliens that have this capacity to go to these different worlds, would you pick one that behaves the way that we do? Right? Like, if you're coming to provide aid, like you're giving a priceless Fabergé egg, you would hand that to a museum curator before you would an angry toddler, right? And like, I think that they would just be like, they're not, as a species, we don't even know how to treat each other well. That I don't know that a alien race would come here and be like, they just need to be pushed in the right direction. I don't know that they would. I think they would kind of see us and maybe be like, oof, let's see where they're at. Let's circle back.
Oh, but yeah. All right, Saki, calm down.
let's go to the next one and see what happens when we come back.
Well, that's all right then, because that's, you know, they could circle back to the issue and come back and they still haven't invaded or annihilated us. So we would survive that invasion.
That one, yeah, because they would be like, they're doing it to themselves. Let's save our resources and move on.
Yeah. Just let them figure it out.
And 1,000 years and they'll be done.
Yeah. Because if they've got like that level of technology, they can probably re-terraform the planet somehow.
Yeah, for sure they could. To get rid of all that plastic that we.
Yeah, exactly. Hoover up the plastic and the old fish. Yeah,
I think you're right. We would be destroyed, or we would be into servitude. Yeah, and potentially. I know you didn't watch Twilight Zone. There's one episode where these aliens came to Earth and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna take you. If the Earth is damaged, we're going to take you," I think it was to Mars or something. So as they're getting on the spaceship, this woman sees a book one of the aliens is holding, and it's like a cookbook for humans. And some people thought it was like, some people as they're getting on were like, oh, it's how you cook for humans, but it wasn't. How to cook humans.
Om nom nom.
Yeah.
Oh,
Quite
brilliant.
delicious.
Well, have you
But
seen or read Childhood's End?
no.
Okay, so they have the benevolent aliens in that, and they come to our planet, and there is a catch I'm not going to go into in case other people haven't seen it, but they're basically, oh look, we're really nice and benevolent. We'll get an ambassador, we'll liaise, and we'll give you nice things. And it basically advances humankind hundreds of years beyond what we are now. And it's amazing, but there's a huge catch. And it's very interesting. Yeah. The TV version of it, I think, is like 3 or 4 episodes long, about hour and a half each. So it's, yeah, easily watchable. But yeah, very good.
I don't know. And maybe that's just me being a nihilist. I don't know that they would come to provide help.
Yeah. I mean, who does? There's always a catch, isn't there?
Really, yeah, that's true. I mean, what if they were transparent about the catch? What if they were like, we're gonna come, we're gonna fix all the problems, but in 1,000 years, we're gonna come back and fuck your shit up. It's gonna be over. Would it be worth it to be like, oh my god, 1,000 years and everything's gonna be amazing? Who cares about, about the great, 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 whatever ancestors?
Because I am so cynical about our power class in the world right now that they would sign that deal because they know that they could leave and fuck the rest of us.
Yeah, it's true.
About 1 million of them would just be able to leave, and then you got the other 7 or 8 billion left just to die.
In your mind, what are the aliens like? Like, are they the Independence Day aliens? Are they the traditional, like, round head kind of green guy? Does it look like ET? What do you envision?
This is the thing. It depends on, like, this is where I struggle as an academic to answer what should be a simple question. It's just fucking aliens or zombies, right? I'm like, yeah, but what do you mean by aliens? And describe a zombie to me. What's their biology like? What's their technology like? I don't fucking know.
A zombie's technology?
No, everybody. Yeah, hold on.
Okay, so the aliens presumably. I mean, we can't find a populated world right now. We just don't have the ability to do that. So presumably this alien race needs to be able to, it's like go into warp drive, like in Star Trek, so that they can travel those distances, and instead of taking 1 million years to get here, it takes 4 days. So they get here. So they have the ability to do that and to find this life, unless they've just been wandering around in the galaxy. So if they can do that, you'd have to assume that everything else is just as advanced. Like, they wouldn't be doing that and then being like, you guys have fire? Like, what? Like a fire? Yeah. Like, they would be that advanced that they would have the ability to come here and help, but also have the ability, if maybe they're like Q from Star Trek, where they would decide if we were worthy of this.
Yeah.
And if we weren't, they just.
I think the benevolent ones, it would be like that. And then the malevolent ones, it would be, let's just go fuck them up. They look easy. Yeah. Like, there was a book series I read called The World at War. And it's basically these fucking lizard people have been planning an invasion of Earth for like 150,000 years. And they're expecting us to be basically swamp dwellers and tree climbers by the time they get here. Because it takes them that long to cross space. And they plan their invasion meticulously for a level of technology they weren't expecting. And they arrive bang right in the middle of World War II, 1943.
What's it called? I'll get into that.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
The books are really repetitive, but like the first book itself is amazing. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. Like, the stuff, he goes into loads of detail about the kind of stuff they get up to and the difficulties they have. This is why I feel like this is a difficult question to answer fully, because they were expecting it to be easy, like we're expecting it to be easy, and they have all of the advantages. And we start developing things like the A-bomb, we start learning guerrilla tactics, even the Nazis are getting involved and showing the good side.
But do you think we would come together as if the aliens came, do you think all the world powers would come together and be like, okay, let's tackle this and fight this together? Or would it still be that like pissing contest of like, we gotta do it first, and we're gonna we still wouldn't, in the face of that, even if we had the technology to beat them, we don't have the
We don't have the
empathy
cohesion
to come together. Yeah.
we're not decent we're not decent enough to each other as a species as a whole. The amount of stuff that we do to each other is already way worse than anything an alien could do. Like, the aliens would only do things that we're already doing to each other. It's just that it's not happening to us specifically right now.
Nice try, Martians.
Yeah.
We got this.
Yeah, we've been doing this for 1,000 years at least. But like, the other thing is that, so I think it's going to be a bit of a trade-off in terms of the aliens will find it harder than they realize, because of we're very good at guerrilla warfare, we're really good at adaptation, and anything like, just take the British Army for example. Some people might not like this, but the British Army is very good at fighting long drawn-out conflicts with very little resources. We're probably the best in the world at doing that, and we're the best trained for fighting against insurgencies. So we understand insurgencies very well, which means that if aliens came in, we understand insurgency tactics so well, we would be able to adopt those tactics for ourselves and use them against the aliens. So I think, we'd be quite well equipped to fight them, even though probably about 6 billion of us will die in the first day. There'll still be enough people around to cause shit.
So I mean, we wouldn't go down without a fight, but no. We'd go down hard.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're still
fucked.
Yeah.
I also think that the aliens, once they arrive, and like if they've done their proper recon like they should do, if they're not too egotistical, they would realize that they can play us against each other very easily. We've got the class structure in every single country in the world. We have a class structure. We have all of the little petty infighting and regional conflicts. I mean, look at the French and the English, or the English and the Irish, Scottish and Welsh, or the English and the Germans, or the English and so I think it'd be very easy to play us off against each other.
Do you think they would be that clever, or do you think they would just, because that's a long game, right? That's a long con where you'd have to come in and it's like you'd be playing worldwide chess and setting up all these pieces. Would they go to that level, or would they just kind of wipe us out?
I think they'd be stupid. It depends on what they want with the planet. So they'd be stupid not to try to do that, depending on their goals. So if their goal is just simple industrial resource extraction, then they might need us for a workforce. They might want to do like a soft invasion initially. And like, I'm literally just spitballing here from all the sci-fi I've read. They might want to just do like a soft invasion and kind of put like what they call like a latchkey dictatorship around us, so that they set up the infrastructure ready and they just turn the key and bam, we're fucked and we're in servitude. That's what I would do if I was a totalitarian invader.
So what is your take on like, so you're almost thinking it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where they just kind of show up and slowly infiltrate?
It's harder to stop that.
That's true.
And also those guys, those plants, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that they didn't, I don't think they had the same, they were kind of just migrating like spores, weren't they, through space? I can't really remember. And so
it's been a while since I've seen it, but they had like it was like the pods that you would then, they would just kind of invade and take over you. Yeah.
And they'd eat your essence and make it their own kind of thing.
But did they ever get into why they did that in the movie?
Yeah, exactly. This is what I was thinking. So I think they were just a force of nature. Yeah, it's like the Triffids. They're just there. They don't have like a group group objective. Those objectives came later once they arrived on the planet, and they started growing insidiously. And they were like,
"Oh, what they do."
Yeah, just be plants and fuck up the animal kingdom. We all know
zombies.
Yeah.
So George Romero, slow-moving zombies, because fast zombies, I mean, I would say it would still be more survivable than an alien invasion, but for not as long. Like I have 47-year-old knees. What the fuck am I running? I'm not outright. Hauling ass doesn't need to stop to breathe. Like you never see a zombie in a movie be like,
yeah, oh fuck, this is too much. Yeah. Like 28 days later, they're just
when they start, they just go. I mean, they survived it. People survived it, but certainly it wouldn't be as like chill as, oh, they're coming. We should
Oh
pack up.
shit, better pack my car.
We should get going. Just
Well,
jog up a little bit.
I think both come with different dangers. One of my favorite things I saw about the 28 days later fast zombies, well, they were rage infected, so it's a virus really, but in 28 weeks later, that thing that people say at the start, like you try and run for as fast as you can for the duration of that start of the movie, like Robert Carlyle does, right? And if you give up, you're dead.
Yeah.
So that's the best test you can do to know if you're going to survive that apocalypse.
I know, full stop. I would not.
I wouldn't.
I don't even think, I mean, the zombies were hauling ass. I mean, a bike, you could probably bike ride.
But they're so slow to get going, though. You're eating.
Yeah,
by
and
the
then
time
if you get to a hill, you're just like, I mean, you have to find some downward.
Yeah, exactly. And all you need is one just to sideswipe you.
Yeah.
Have you
All
got
it takes is like a little pothole and you're asshole a tea kettle.
Which I have done.
Yeah, who has it?
I was on my first day of college on my apprenticeship. I was doing mechanical engineering apprenticeship, cycling into my college, went like, you know, the sleeping policeman, and I went over that, and there was a pothole the other side of it that I couldn't see. And then I just, the front wheel went in, went straight over the top, cut all the back of my leg up on the chain, and I was just lying on the ground, like in the middle of the road, like, oh, fuck. And then there was a guy just building a wall, and he just looked up, he went, "You're right there, mate."
Do I look all right?
Yeah, fine. Don't worry. But yeah.
But the thing with slow zombies, I mean, even if they're slow, they never stop.
Yeah.
Right? Like they never have to stop to take a break. They never have to stop to sleep or to eat. They just keep coming. I mean, the ones like in The Walking Dead, they kind of eventually went dormant. Well, there was no dormant, the only word I think to describe it. There was
accurate.
no
stimulus.
There was no like smell or was thank you, that's what I was looking for. There's no stimulus, so they just kind of went dormant, but they were still there. And even if you had like a group of zombies and they're all dormant, as soon as you take one out, the rest of them kind of wake up and come back. Yeah. They all wake up and come back at you. And there's never, would they freeze? Like if they went dormant and they were in like a Canadian minus 20 degree winter.
Yeah, I think they would, because there's no way that they couldn't. Because I mean, cold fucks everything.
Yeah, so if they froze, like you'd almost have to head north.
Yeah. Best thing
and then wait until they all froze and just kind of like.
Okay, I've another question then. Have you read the book World War Z by Max Brooks?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay. Now, out of all of the things that we've spoken about so far, that is the one you have to read the most. Okay. It is amazing and it's creepy and it is the best zombie media I've interacted with because it covers all the films, all the books, everything. It's the best thing I've ever seen that does zombies. I can't even hear him.
He's rumbling. He's looking out the window. Shit's about to go down. So no, I have not. There was a trilogy, I think it was a trilogy, but there was two different trilogies I think it's called The Feed. And I think it's like a young adult, but it was so good. And it's this, I can't even remember what it's about. Mira Grant is the author. And I can't remember now if it was like zombies or more vampire-ish or a combination, like a hybrid of the two. But it was that like, as these things are unfolding, people are coming together into like these little news groups and reporting on what's happening. So like we're full out in this zombie apocalypse and like this group is following a presidential candidate as how they go through and how they're like addressing their jurisdictions or whatever, can't think of the word, on like as they're going to deal with this zombie thing and how they've come together and like the tests that they have to do. And it's like this constant blood testing to see if you're sick. And it's just this world where it's totally normal. Like it's commonplace. It's how it happened. It starts, I think there's two different trilogies and one of them is like they're in it and then the other one is at the beginning of it, but it's an entertaining read. for sure. And it's a very different perspective where it's just like, we're not really trying to fight it anymore. We're just trying
we
to
have to live
thrive
with
and
it.
survive through it. Yeah. This is
Like
just where we are
COVID.
now. Yeah. And how can we kind of capitalize on it? Because they're all connected into like their lives are constantly being broadcast. People are constantly watching their lives and how they're managing these different things. Like it's really interesting. I'm not doing it justice. It's been a while since I read it.
So the feed has a bit of a double entendre to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not just the feed, it's also like the feed.
That's so cool.
You're watching the feed. It's so good. Mira Grant is the author, and it was definitely worth the read.
It sounds like it's got elements of The Strain. I think it's Guillermo del Toro. Yeah, The Strain is good. Yeah.
So, because The Strain is vampires, but like a different type of vampire than we're accustomed to, right? Not the like, I'm on to suck your blood type of. If you had to choose between the Strain type of vampire or a zombie,
I think a zombie, because the Strain vampires were scary. Yeah, they were intense.
Didn't they have that like?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, very accurate.
The worms.
Yeah, and that was gross. Did you see the whole series?
I read the books, and then I started watching. I think I watched the first season, or I don't know how many seasons there were. I watched a couple, and then I just was distracted by something else. So
it's because I haven't read the books, so I think I need to read them. Because
they're so good.
The ending is amazing. It's very just satisfying at the end. Like, you know,
I remember the books, but have you read the series The Passage?
No.
It's another I think trilogy of a different type of vampire story, and it's the same thing.
Okay.
Like it had some similar elements, but it was different but the same, and it was just as good. But it's again like people just living and surviving and trying to get on with their lives during the vampire
the shit show
taking over. Yeah, and not the like sexy vampires, like the scary as fuck.
Not the glittery ones.
No. Or the like Lestat and Louis type vampires. No, they were the ugly vampires.
I'm definitely much more intrigued by the kind of worlds that get created where it's more complicated, or it's not all just pretty boys. Like if it's like a different types of vampires, or just really fucked up sort of Cthulhu-esque monstrosities. I like that sort of stuff.
That's what I like so much about the book or the short story, I Am Legend. I hated the movie because it totally missed the point. Like the way I mean, I would love for them to remake that movie and stay true to the book, because just the way that it was. I mean, I don't even know if you even really know if they're like zombies or vampires or they're sick. Like they don't even really get into the nuance of it, but just that like it's them. They're trying to live their life.
Yeah.
And then they have like just some dude who's coming in and
some
killing
psycho.
Right?
Fucking die.
Just trying to live my best vampire life. Let me have it.
I think if I remember correctly, like you're saying, the movie, it does miss the point completely. I enjoyed the movie for what it was. So I kind of like compartmentalized the two things, and I enjoyed the movie, but it wasn't.
I wish I had seen the movie first, because I went in with expectations, and I shouldn't, because I'm always disappointed, but I went in with expectations. Like I was already upset that they chose a young actor.
Yeah.
Because in the book, he's kind of old and grizzled. So I wanted it to be an old and grizzled, right? Like it doesn't. Yeah. And like Will Smith did a beautiful job, but they make him like this, military. I think he was a military doctor or something. So he was already equipped to be able to handle it. Where in the book, he was just this like.
He's a shit show
drunk
in the book.
Who was like, fuck, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
And then the dog. I'm ruining this book for anybody who hasn't read it, but like it's so heart aching to like read the book and listen or read it as he's trying to develop this relationship with the dog, and then the movie, he's already got the fucking dog.
Yeah. Because it's honestly, I Am Legend is one of my absolute favorite books ever. I fucking love it, and
it's so good.
Yeah, it's the way it turned it into an academic problem about the vampires. And how like he categorized them. You have like the sentient vampires, then you have the zombie fucked up vampires that are insane, and then you have the humans.
And like trying to figure out how to cure them is like the solve for X, right? Like
exactly. Yeah.
And then what kills me is like you always assume like everything else is that if they are like you expect everybody to be like that fucked up kind of zombie loses their mind and they don't know you, but that like they would just kind of en masse come to his house to taunt him and try to get him out was just horrifying. Like playing his records, trying to drown it all out while he's trying to solve this thing. And it was so good, so well written.
And one of the things that doesn't get it was never brought up in the film, and I just feel like it misses a lot of depth of the character, and a lot of books never cover this. It's the fact that like he's a man, he has testosterone, he has urges, and how's he gonna fulfill all of that while he's drinking and trying to solve this problem while he's got those harlots outside, the strumpets?
Are you kidding me right now? Fucking men. About your urges. No. So aliens. So
yeah. Well, not to go back to the I'm Legend thing. It's just that I liked his inner monologue about it, and like I kind of find it really funny because I'd like to know how old Richard Matheson was when he wrote the book, because the kind of stuff that he talks about in the book I identified more as a younger man in my mid-20s, but now I'm nearly 40. I wouldn't have the same problems this supposed professor's having. You know, like, because I don't see the world like that anymore. So,
well, and he wrote it, like, wasn't it written in the 60s?
70s, I think.
70s.
Oh, it could be
so,
50s or so. Like, it would be the last thing on my mind would be mating with mutant vampire ladies. You know what I mean?
In 1954, it kind of wouldn't, because in 1954 it was very, but it was also very like, that's what you did, right? You grew up, you got married, you had kids, job, like that was just, there weren't as many options back then to be child free and to do your own thing or to remain single. It was just the natural order of things. Yeah.
And his whole life's disrupted. I just don't understand the fixation on the urges, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it more. It's a bit weird. The urges. That sounds very Victorian. Sums it up.
It's like big mouth hormone monster.
Yeah.
Let's get back to vampires. So okay, so we've got we covered the I Am Legend vampires. We talked about, so we've got those kind of like half zombie, half. What about like Salem's Lot?
Yeah, I love Salem's Lot.
So in that, like, that kid was floating outside the window.
Yeah.
And like you had to be invited in.
Yeah.
And is that a scarier vampire than the like just suck you into an alley type of vampire? Like, what would be your preferred vampire?
The thing is, it's like there's different fears in this, isn't there? Like if you think on the very raw basic level of the symbology of what these myths represent, and like the first vampires make you think of being a child and being snatched off the street by a man in a van. You know, we were told all of that in like the 80s or whatever. And then the other ones make you think of home invasion predators and stuff.
Yeah, and then there was that whole like other sexual aspect of vampires, because every time like a vampire would grab a beautiful woman and get into the neck, you'd see her like, oh
yeah. But,
so it was a very sexually driven thing until vampires got scary. And then when they got scary, it was like a whole other ball game.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they're scary for different reasons, and it's kind of the Salem's Lot one is almost, if you have the knowledge, you can avoid it, whereas the other ones, it's just statistical chance that you'll be snatched up. You know, it's So it's kind of like,
and I guess zombies are the same. Like if we know, so like if you saw a zombie, you're like, yeah, I got it. Where's my
where's my cricket bat?
Where's my machete? Right, like I got it. Like you'd know that. Alien invasion, vampires, zombies, which would be easier for people to believe would exist.
Zombies would be easiest, particularly because we just come out of a pandemic, according to the government. So now that they're telling us we're coming out of a pandemic, I think that would be easier for people to believe, because of the whole viral nature of it, and it's not supernatural. Aliens would be hard for people to believe because we're constantly told that they're impossible. There's the odd physicist that'll say, yeah, I know, but universe is infinite. It's going to be aliens.
It is infinite. It's got to be. We can't. I think it's pretty arrogant to think that we would be the only planet in all of space that would be able to sustain intelligent life.
I prefer the ships passing in the night theory, where all these advanced civilizations pop up and collapse, all through the universe, but will never make contact because we're so far apart. I quite like that idea.
But do you think that they are existing independently, like one pops up and collapses and then another one, or are they simultaneously coexisting?
Well, this is what these clever, much cleverer people than me think, is that, like, yeah, it would be like ships passing in the night, that they'll never interact, we'll never know about each other, and it could be like tens of thousands of years before we even find out a civilization even existed there. And then by the time we get to them, they're gone, and then by the time anyone gets to us, we're gone.
Yeah, and I think that would make total sense, unless we can develop like Star Trek type of travel.
Which would be brilliant.
So do you think aliens have ever been here? Like there's that show on the History Channel called Ancient Aliens. And like every time they find something that they can't explain, they're like, it's aliens, right? It had to be aliens.
I don't know what they call it.
Easter Island, aliens.
I don't know what they call it, the History Channel. No, I don't think so. I would love to know what some of your conspiracy theories are with anything, if you have any.
I don't think that they've been here. It would be nice to think that like aliens are some sort of like court jestery type of person, like where they're like, you know, thousands and thousands of years ago they came giggling in the night to drop off these huge heads on Easter Island.
Yeah,
See what they
look
think,
at
right?
this.
They're like little practical jokers, and now we're still like, what do they mean?
And like dinosaurs.
Yeah, and the aliens are watching us like the two from like The Simpsons, just kind of hovering, being like, oh, they found them, come see.
I fucking love that. There's I can't remember what, there's like a short series, like a series of short films on Netflix, and one of them is I can't remember the names, the actors, but anyway, they open up their freezer in this new apartment. They inherited an old freezer in this apartment. They open it up and it's just blocked with ice, so they chip it away, and there's an ice age civilization in there, and then every time they go back to the freezer, it's advanced.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's so fucking cool.
But I do think that alien life does exist. I don't think we'll ever know, like you said, because it's so vast that it can't not.
Yeah.
I don't think it can't not exist.
I think that there's too many planets that life could evolve on.
Absolutely. What do you think of like is it like the not multiverse? Would it be multiverse? Like parallel universes where decisions you make here affect. Have you read any Blake Crouch?
No.
There's one of his books, I think it's called Recursion. I can't remember. They're all fantastic, but he's got one where it's like every single decision you make, the other version of you, right? There's a door where so you here make this decision, but a different version of you made a different decision. So then there's like this infinitesimal number, or infinite, that's what it meant, infinite number of universes where you exist, but just different versions of you because different decisions have been made. And he is able to like navigate through them.
That sounds like Sliding Doors, the movie with Gwyneth Paltrow, before Goop fame ruined her, but
it was a good idea for a movie.
It was amazing. It's a very good movie. And it's one of those things where I feel like it's wishful thinking and I want it to be true, just because it would be so cool to be able to, just, I don't know.
But if it is, we'll never know, right? That's the thing. We'll never know. We could just be one giant ant farm.
Yeah, could you imagine? Jesus Christ. The thing is, there was, it's years ago now I saw this, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was basically somebody's shown like the projection of matter in the universe and what it looks like. And then they showed a certain type of scan on the brain of the synapses and the way that the matter looks as it kind of is drawn between all the different solar systems and galaxies and everything in the universe. It looks just like the way the synapses look in the brain.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, no, I don't want that.
I mean, I don't think we're like an alien experiment, but I do think that something does exist somewhere.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
I would believe that more than I would believe zombies, because the zombies, like the whole reanimation thing, that I struggle with, because like if you had nothing firing in your brain, movement would become very difficult because it just kind of controls.
You'd think so, but they're not technically dead, depending on the mythos that you're watching. And there it actually exists in nature. There's these snails. They're like it's like a parasite that gets into snails in like the rainforest or something.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it comes like makes like a cone on its head, and and then it gets to the top of the tallest thing it can find, and it's just going, "Whoa, look at me, eat me," because it wants to propagate. And oh, sorry, I found out recently the Sarlacc pit from Star Wars is fucking real.
What?
It's a thing. Yeah, it's only a problem if you're the size of an ant, but it exists.
Well, ants have a big problem.
Yeah. And it's like basically it's it is basically the Sarlacc pit. I can't describe it in any other way. And then like little bugs would just walk past it, fall into it, and it would just go.
It's like those sinkholes that are forming everywhere.
Yeah,
they're just like sucking people up. Imagine if one of them like just closed up on its own.
Yeah,
like that.
Nom nom nom, and then burped out a zombie, and that's patient zero.
Or just it burped out the cars, like all the leftover things that it didn't need.
Yeah, I think like I think after reading World War Z, I'm a lot more comforted about, because there's nothing like the Brad Pitt film, even though I enjoyed it, but it wasn't the book. I'm a lot more comforted the fact that the human race would actually survive a zombie apocalypse, because The Walking Dead, again, as much as I've enjoyed that show in various seasons, it's not very realistic in terms of what we would actually end up doing, how we would form communities, and then how we would actually battle against the zombie apocalypse. And I don't know, it just, there's so many.
You don't think so? You don't think that there would be different groups that would have different?
Yeah.
Like, because The Walking Dead was very much like that. They had, Rick and his group, and then they had Negan and his group, the governor, and like Alexandria. They all had their own way of dealing with it and handling it. And they all kind of, even though they approached things differently, they all had the basis of make a safe space, try to grow some food, try to establish some sort of normalcy. They just did it in different ways.
And they all did it. The common thing is they all did it fucking badly. And then they all died.
I know, not one gardener in the group.
I know. Not one person that knew what a library was. It wasn't, when was it? Like season 8 or something? And then that lady turned up in her hippie wagon and was like, "Oh, here's a book. This is medieval farming techniques. Thank you."
Yeah.
And it took them fucking 10 years. No, it would be the first thing I'm doing. My skill would be learning, and I'd be like, "All right, people, look, you're all cunts, but I'm willing to help you for my survival." And I would get them to take me to a library, and I would learn all the shit, and then I would go, "Okay, guys, you're bigger, musclier, more handsome than me. You can go off and build these things." I'll just tell you how to do it.
And it wasn't until like, I don't remember which season it was, but deep into the season where they actually went to like a museum to get farming equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no one thought of that before.
They have a fucking blacksmith. He could have made it.
I have a blacksmith, but no gardener.
Yeah, what's that about? And yeah, so their literacy is obviously at 0%. No gardeners survive the apocalypse, even though in World War Z, a gardener does survive the apocalypse, and it's awesome how he does it because he's blind, and it's brilliant. Yeah, honestly, you have to read this book. And a nun manages to survive.
I wonder what that would do to your, I mean, I haven't read the book, and but I wonder what that would do to your faith.
Probably strengthen it if you're one way, and then weaken it if you're the other way. I know that's a cop-out answer, but it depends on your relationship with the faith. I think the more heavily invested you are to start with, the more likely you are to double down on it.
You think so?
Yeah.
So I worked with a woman who was like a born-again Christian. She was very, very into the beliefs. Although she did believe that if her and her boyfriend used, like if she was on the pill and he used a condom, then it was like 2 negatives made a positive and it didn't happen. So like that was her way of getting around premarital sex. I know, but she presented herself as being very staunchly firm in her beliefs. So I had read this book called The Year of Living Biblically by A.J. Jacobs. And if you've not read it, it's worth a read. He spends 1 year following every single rule in the Bible. He was about to have, his wife was about to have give birth. And he says he grew up as Jewish as the Olive Garden is an Italian restaurant, right? So like that's the comparison he draws. So he wanted to know if he missed out on anything by not being raised with faith. So he thought for a year he would follow all the rules in the Bible. So for I think he actually did a little bit longer. For several months he went Old Testament, and then for several months he went New Testament. I know I'm going to bring it back to her, but I have
that's interesting.
So good. So, and like he follows all, like he wrote them all down. He had spiritual advisors. So if he came up to a problem, he'd reach out to those advisors, and like everything. He, even in the book, I wish I could show you, but I left it to somebody else and I never returned it. So I don't have it, but there's like pictures of him through the process, because he had to stop shaving and he had to stop cutting his hair and he had to get the robes because he couldn't wear mixed materials. And because he couldn't sit, I'm ruining it for you, so I'm sorry, but like he couldn't sit on a bus anymore, because you're not supposed to sit in a space where a woman who was on her period had sat, and he didn't know if a woman had been on her period, so he had to buy this like little chair that he could take with him so he could use when he was sitting. Oh and then when his like his wife, I guess, started to get a little fed up, so like he came home one day and he was about to sit down and she was mad at him. She's like, I wouldn't sit there if I were you. And she had sat in every space so he could.
Fucking brilliant.
Then he had these questions of, okay, so you can't on Sundays, right? You can't make graven images. So does that mean I can't turn on the television? But if I walk into a room and the TV is on, so he had all these questions about it. And then he switches into New Testament, which had its whole other set of problems, because then he had to reach out to his advisors, like the Old Testament says this, New Testament says this, is this, like, do they cancel each other out? Do I add on to it? I've ruined the book for you, but it's a very good read.
No,
I haven't ruined it, because it's his experiences. So there's
Yeah,
still
totally.
a lot of really good nuggets in there. So I had told her that I was reading this book and she was really curious about it. So I lent it to her, and within 2 days, she brought it back and she said, I can't read this because it's making me question my faith. And she refused to read it.
Oh
and I thought that was really unusual, because I guess because I'm naturally curious and I'm not someone who has faith, but the thought that she was just so uncomfortable with it being questioned.
Yeah.
That I think there was probably more people in your thought that it would strengthen some people. And I think there's more that are on the fence that just wouldn't want to give it thought. They would just get into the business of living and they're like, I'll just set that for another day and not have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I have two thoughts. I don't know which one to deliver first. First one is, I guess that I completely agree. I think it happens with everything in life, whether it's about an ideology or it's politics or it's just something about the way you live in your life. Like, for example, like you and me have had problems in the past where people seem to want us to procreate, not us procreate.
Not together.
Yeah.
Not together.
Yeah. But they want people like us to go out there and propagate and fill the world of human smelly beings. And but when you try and challenge them on their beliefs about having children, they don't want to listen. They just shut down, like their eyes glaze over and they're like, oh, but I like having my children. And it's like, do you not know how much better my life is that I don't have fucking snot bags running around?
But that's the thing, it's all perspective, because they think it's like everyone's the hero of their own story, right? They think that your life is sad and lonely because you don't have kids.
But it's not.
Meanwhile, but I know, but it's just that, again, it's that lack of empathy you're trying to understand. And I guess it makes sense, because if you've grown up always wanting to have children, then you would feel that emptiness not having. So you maybe assume everybody else feels the same way. But I grew up knowing that it was not for me. So I grew up knowing I wanted dogs. If I didn't have a dog, I would feel that same type of yearning and desire to have a dog. But kid, not once has it ever crossed my mind that it would happen. So yeah, when some people try to convince me, it's always, this may be a topic for another deep dive, but it's always been one of those things like, oh, you'll never know love, or you're not a real woman. I don't know if you've ever gotten that as a man, but like women get told you're not a real woman if you're not a mother. Yeah.
That's harsh. That's really harsh. Well, there's a special word for it, for a woman that hasn't had children. You're called nulliparous.
Say that again?
Nulliparous.
Nulliparous?
Yeah, NULLIPAROUS.
Really?
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never heard that before.
Special word for women that have never procreated.
It doesn't have the same roll off the tongue as mom, but
No, no. But you can go around and proudly say, I am nulliparous. But there's
I'm gonna get t-shirts. I'm gonna make t-shirts.
Yeah, I don't think there's a word for men though. Yeah, but yeah, nulliparous. Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey,
I like that.
get that for your TikTok merchandise.
I might.
Also,
I
your
just might.
challenge for this week is to get that word into one of your TikToks this week. We'll make you sound clever.
Oh, so the one I made where I was just kind of like, I don't know if you saw it, I was kind of like rambling about,
Yes.
yeah. So I'm doing the rambles, and then one of the guys in the comments made this thing about like, oh, you're pretending to ramble to make yourself sound smart or something.
What?
Like, dude.
No, that's the opposite.
Dude.
Rambling is the opposite of that.
Dude. Yeah, it was, and like I once used, I forget what it was, like I used fugue once in a video, and like 2 people commented about like I'm using the word fugue to sound smart. It's like it's a good
the
word. It's like, why would I say 18 words to just say when I can just say fugue? Like, if you don't know the word, just say you don't know the word, my guy.
Yeah, it doesn't make you sick. It like a fugue state. There's no other way of describing it. That is the word for being in a fugue.
Yeah, and there are some words that I like. I enjoy the opportunity. Like every opportunity to say thrice, I will.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Like I will purposely wait for things to happen 3 times so I can say thrice.
Yeah, to deliver that in arguments at home. I've listened to you thrice times this week.
In the past fortnight, I have listened.
Yeah.
Fortnight we never get to use. That's sad. And now it's a game, so it doesn't even make sense anymore.
Well, you could do like a stupid dance, make a TikTok out on that.
I've never played the game.
Me neither.
My husband, I think my husband's played. I haven't played a video game for a long time.
I play video games about every morning for about 1 to 2 hours before I do anything. And then I take my medication, and then I do some work. And then I play again about 2 till 3. And then I just get on with my life.
I get into phases where like I'm really into a game, and then I'll play the shit out of it, and then I won't play a game again for a few years.
Yeah.
But and like I've been like that since I was a kid. Like I remember my brother had Doom on his computer. He would like, it was like the summer, and he would get up to go to work because he's working full time over the summer, and I was the only one who, like, I was the baby, so I had nowhere to be. So as soon as everybody would leave the house, I would like grab my cigarettes and walk into my brother's room, sit there all day playing Doom and smoking.
Oh,
like,
brilliant.
Shit, people are getting home in 10 minutes. I should change.
Yeah.
Pretend to be productive. And it was the same so I played Doom was a big one for me, and then like for the side-scrolling Prince of Persia. Super into that.
That's another good.
Didn't play anything for a while, and then my husband and I, when we first started dating, we were at his friend's place, and they were playing Resident Evil.
Oh yeah.
I called in sick for work the next day. I was at Walmart when they opened. I bought a PlayStation. I bought Resident Evil, another game called Parasite Eve. I was back at home by 9:30 in the morning.
Oh,
and
wow.
that's all I did. Like, I don't even know what happened. I remember like 12 hours later being like, my thumbs hurt, hungry, thirsty. The moved. And I was like, and then I saw the commercial for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Called in sick for work, went to so yeah.
I have to stay away from games. Like there are certain types of games I have to not play because they trigger my compulsion side. And like I avoid Grand Theft Auto because I would just be lost in that world for days.
It's amazing. Like,
Yeah,
it's amazing
such a good
how
game.
like there have been times where I have sat to play and I've played for hours and not advance the storyline even a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I would just go around town doing different things, go to the gym and work out, go over here to eat, go over here and like shag a hooker, and then
punch her in the face and steal the money.
Yeah, it's exactly how it goes down. Like I would go on dates with other girls, just drive around. Like I would play for hours and not do anything. And my favorite thing to do, because there's these like, you could burgle So from, I think it was like midnight to 6 a.m., you could go to this place, get a truck, and then break into people's houses and steal their shit. But you had to like be quiet, otherwise they would hear you and call the
Yeah.
cops. I nailed it. Like I had such a system where I would play for like 3 hours in a row and make bajillions of dollars because I would like be waiting outside the place. So when midnight struck, got the truck, I knew exactly what houses to go to. I knew which rooms to get into. I would get in, be at the place by 6 a.m., go back home, save 3 times because then you sleep 6 hours, 6 hours, midnight again, and that's all I would do.
That sounds like you had a hidden talent that you never fulfilled in life. Breaking and entering.
I was a kleptomaniac for a little bit when I was a kid.
So,
Steal shit from my family's house.
I what was the last word you said? You laughed.
From my family, from my
yeah.
family's houses. Go over for visits and steal stuff.
That's amazing. No, I used
My
to
sister
steal
called
stuff.
me out on it on TikTok.
That's hilarious. No, I used to steal stuff from the supermarket and things. Yeah.
I would slip a lipstick or eyeliner up my sleeve.
It was the girls that got me into doing it. Like they were like, "Oh, do you know? Like if you're hungry, just go into Tesco, walk around with a drink or a sandwich, just walk around for 10 minutes holding it, and then just put it in your pocket, and then no one will stop you."
I used to work at a grocery store when I was a teenager, and like people would load up their grocery carts and then make a run for it, like, or they would think that they just casually walked out.
Yeah.
No one would really notice.
Well, this because
So
they're
we
going
saw it all
out
the
too
time.
much.
And there was one woman who I worked with, and she loved score bars. So she would grab one and like smack it on the counter to break it. Like, this one's broken, we can't sell it. And just
I got banned from Woolworths for that for life because I broke some polos.
she used to do it every day. Every time I worked with her, boom, can't sell that one.
Yeah.
She'd open it up.
Oh, one thing I was going to say, going back to the thing about breaking and entering and how much fun that is. So I played this game called This War of Mine, and it's basically what's happening in Ukraine at the moment. Like you're basically somebody living in a war-torn area in Eastern Europe, and you're just trying to survive, and you get all your people together, and then you just try and get them to do different tasks and survive, basically. Anyway, I hadn't accounted for the psychological impact of actions because in most games they don't exist. Yeah, so I broke into an old people's house. There's an old couple in there. I went into the kitchen and I stole their food, and they heard me. So the husband comes out and starts arguing with my character. And so I beat him around the head and killed him. And then the wife came out. He started it. And then the wife came out.
You were standing in his kitchen.
Yeah. And then his wife came out and starts crying. And then I get the character to run away. The next day, he gets really depressed and kills himself. I was like, I'm not ready for that. I played the game for 6 hours and just uninstalled it. I was like,
I do like games where like the decisions affect others to a different level. I think it was called Dishonored. It's set during like, I think it's in England during the plague, so there's rats everywhere. And so if you can go through the game in a couple of different ways. If you go through the game kind of stealthy and you don't kill a lot of people, the rat population stays down. But if you are just going whole hog and you're killing everybody, then there's more rats because they're feeding and breeding.
Oh,
so
wow.
like the way you decide to get through the game impacts like how the plague spreads and grows, because
amazing.
These rats are like, it's a really cool, like I've actually played through it a couple of times to see how it, but what the differences are. BioShock was the same, right? Like you play BioShock like at the beginning of the game.
No, but I know about it.
Okay, so you can choose. I think they're going to make a movie.
Oh, cool.
So you can choose. You have to harvest what's called Adam, and Adam looks like a pork tenderloin. So every time I cook pork tenderloin, I think fondly of the game. So you can harvest it by saving the girls, and then you get less because there's these little girls that have it, or you kind of kill them and rip it out of them. If you kill them, then at the end of the game is different.
Okay.
With the women, with the girls. And then if you save them, then they help you along the way as like a thank you. And then the end of the game is different there. So like it affects. And so like I've played through it, saving all of them, killing all and then a balance between the two to see how it affects the game. And it changes things ever so slightly, which like keeps the gaming engaging because you can always come back and replay it in a different way.
Yeah. That's really, and then is that why in some of the promotion stuff, like you see the Bioshock construct, whatever, I don't actually know what it is, but like it's got that little girl with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the little girl, and the big guy that's called Big Daddy.
Oh, okay.
And it is they did a few. So the Bioshock 1 and 2 are of the franchise my absolute favorite because they're underwater and it's very dark. They're in a place called Rapture. And then I think it was the third one, they were in the sky. And I didn't like that one as much because it didn't have the same kind of like dark feeling of it. So I would love for them to go back to Rapture, but it is that Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, hands down my favorite games ever.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, I just it's literally just like an addiction thing. Not, I don't have an addictive personality, but I just, if I get a game like that has like that infinity type complex to it, like I would just play it and play it and play it. So I just think
that's the nice thing about Bioshock. It definitely has a storyline and a definite end. Like there's no side missions, there's no exploring.
Oh, okay.
There's none of that stuff. Yeah. Like you're in it. The only exploring there is to do is like if you knock over garbage cans, you can find some food or some other stuff. So you kind of check your surroundings, but it's not like Grand Theft Auto where you could play for hours and not advance the story.
I think
you're in there, you're doing it.
I've unfairly avoided that game then because I thought it was going to be like Fallout or Grand Theft Auto type game, and you have to go around and collect shit and.
No, it's so good. No, you collect stuff, but you're collecting stuff that you need. Like you collect food, you collect like health, you can collect money because there's these vending machines you can find to buy stuff. So that's the level of collection. But once you've collected everything and it's a small area, you move on and advance the story.
Oh, interesting.
And there was another one of the first ones I ever played. It's called Parasite Eve. I bought that when I got my PlayStation. And you were able, and it was kind of like a zombie. Well, there's Parasite taking over, so it's kind of like this horror movie or horror game. And you're able to change the character's name. So I changed it to my name. So like every time the text would pop up, I would see mine. I'd see like GVizzle, blah, blah, blah. And I would play for like hours at a time. Then I would start having dreams about it at night because it was me. It was GVizzle. So I can't make the games my name anymore because it gets in.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that problem though. Like with the Sims, I used to, when I was at school, I used to have really bad insomnia, so I would literally sleep every other night when I was like in the last year of school, and then on the night I couldn't sleep, I'd play the Sims, and so like it would just fuck up with my head. Like I would just imagine the Sims constantly, and then if I fell asleep, I would dream about it.
And there are times now, like especially Grand Theft Auto, because the area is so realistic the way that they do it. I mean, the later games, the graphics were much better, but like we'll be watching a movie that's set in California and I'm like, I'm in there when I was CJ Johnson because it looks familiar. I feel like I'm pretty sure I could probably fly a helicopter if it was controlled by a PlayStation controller.
I once met an autistic kid, right? On the train from Harry Potter, actually. And yeah, that was quite cool. And then anyway, he was telling me on this train, for regaling me with all of his special interests about Harry Potter. And one of his favorite things to do was in Grand Theft Auto. I think it was probably Grand Theft Auto 4 at the time. Is that he had a mod for the game to make the car fly. And he used to just love flying around the city, just like the car from Harry Potter. And he said he would spend hours just doing that.
Good for him.
It's so cute.
I've done stuff like that in games.
Yeah.
I think we've exhausted our conversation on the aliens and zombies. Although I'm thinking like the last 15-ish minutes would be really good for our clips.
Yeah. I think what's actually happened is because there's still so much to talk about. We haven't actually exhausted it. We've gone on the biggest tangent of tangents that have ever tangented.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I do have to go, so we may have to pick it up as a part 2. We can do a part 2.
Yeah, because we got distracted.
Our first sequel, Fade to Black. Bye.